Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Brodes. I have not discussed Dwight Howard yet. And that's such a key move to this team, right? We've been looking for someone who can step in when Joel Embiid is on the bench for years. When Embiid's on the bench, this team falls apart. It gets ugly. It gets atrocious. We just spent $6 billion on an aging Al Horford, hoping and really praying that he'd be able to give us something. And he didn't even give us 1 second, not 1 second of high-quality basketball in that role. So signing Dwight Howard is a monstrous deal. Will it work out? That is something only time will tell. But let's discuss this topic. And the only reason why I waited was because I know the Sixers still have moves left. And because it was the beginning of free agency, I thought Daryl Morey would make a move and pounce in that time frame of free agency starting. So I was just anticipating maybe another move, so I figured, hold on a second, I'll wait for that second move. They have that mid-level exception, so they do have something to work with. I thought I would package that up in a conversation for a podcast, but it's been a few days now. There will be something eventually. Probably as soon as I hit record, the news is going to drop with my luck. As I end the podcast, I'll go on Twitter and I'll see Daryl Morey with the halo over his head and all these Twitter memes because he pulled something out of his ass that everybody's excited about. Because let's be realistic, that tends to happen with Daryl Morey to this point. Before we dive into this great conversation, though, we are broadcasting, as always, from the Manscaped Man Cave. You get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. So Dwight Howard, we all know about his history. He was once a star, no doubt about it. Things got ugly. He needed to accept a new role. If he wanted to continue his NBA career, he needed to go down a different path. He needed to accept it mentally that he's no longer what he once was when he was the guy. So he goes to LA and he plays with LeBron James and he becomes a phenomenal role piece. He stepped in there and he was a difference maker for that team. Limited role, difference maker for that team though. It's a lot different playing with LeBron, knowing you're going for an NBA title, and playing with Ben and Joel. And look, Ben and Joel, young players, exciting, definitely need to grow. I'm not saying it's a bad situation. It's not like playing for the Knicks or playing for some dumpster fire organizations right now. But it's not the same as knowing you're with LeBron, you're going to be in the NBA Finals, and you're going to have a legitimate, insane chance to come out with the ring. So I do feel like there's a lot of positives with this move and a lot of negatives as well. He's not a likable guy. He does have a personality that people seem to not mesh well with. He's odd. He's a weird cat, no doubt. And I'm just questioning, will he have the same buy-in factor? Will he have the same buy-in knowing that he's not with the Lakers, knowing that he's not with LeBron James? I think that's a huge, huge storyline to his success last season. That type of locker room presence, that type of determination, that type of leadership, you're not getting it here. Now, here's the flip side. Signing in Philadelphia, looking at the roster, seeing who's here, you would think he understands what's going to happen, right? There's no way that in his brain he's thinking, hey, if I work hard and if I show them, I'm going to be able to become the starting center. There's no way in hell. It's just not happening. Joel Embiid is the guy. He is the number one center for this basketball team. So there's no way in hell that he could possibly believe anything other than, I have a new role, this is what I'm going to provide. Now, Daryl Morey is taking a shot here. The thing is, when you look at the contract, it's doable. It's very doable to take that shot considering he's barely getting paid any money. And if he does give you what he gave the Lakers last season, wow, you're getting a good steal. Considering Look what you spent last year trying to fill that role. And look at, in general, the pieces you've tried to throw behind him. Amir Johnson, Al Horford. I like Kyle O'Quinn, but not to that degree. Kyle O'Quinn, back end of the bench type of guy. I do like his veteran presence and whatnot, but it doesn't compare to being an actual backup big man, legitimately. If Dwight Howard actually duplicates his play that he did for the first time as that role player last year significantly, then you got to steal. But let's not act like there's not some sort of stank with Dwight Howard. He had a tough time with Daryl Morey in the past when it came to Houston. That didn't work out. No, that did not work out as planned. It was sloppy. It was ugly. Had to go in another direction. But once again, I do think it matters when you talk about context here. His upside and the contract combined makes it worth it. I'm not going to say I hate the move. I'm not going to say I love it, though, because I do think that there are flaws with Dwight Howard. There have been personality problems in the past. He is a strange individual. And with the team that didn't get along very well last year, it's something that's in the back of my mind. Last year, there seemed to be, in the room and with the culture, headbutting. You don't really mesh off the court. It didn't seem like they cared for one another. And I'm not one of those people that claim you need that in sports. I watched Kobe and Shaq win championships. If you're ball and you got that mindset, it doesn't really matter. But it helps. I will acknowledge that it helps. It puts you in a better position. I didn't see that at all last year. The camaraderie, wanting to help one another. You see your teammate go down, you run to go get him. How much did they hang out off the court? Were they boys to that degree? Didn't really feel that way. Now the team makes more sense from a X's and O's standpoint, from a skill set standpoint. You think that would naturally just form a relationship because, well, you can sense that this team makes sense on paper and makes sense when it comes to what Seth Curry brings to the table, what Danny Green brings to the table, how Ben Simmons can take his game to the next level because he actually has three-point shooters when Ben Simmons and his best skill set is finding wide open guys for three. So because you'll get better play on the court, it will just be a cause and effect. Because you're playing better and because things operate at a smoother clip, it will affect the way that you guys feel as teammates. And I'm just basing this off of, yes, Dwight Howard's flaw is a locker room issue and being willing to adapt to that role piece. I saw it for a season, but I also saw it with LeBron. And you can't act as if that doesn't matter. LeBron's voice is so powerful. When you are in a locker room with this dude, knowing his mindset is, I got to chase Michael, I got to get another title, I got to get my fourth. Guess what? You lock in differently. You prepare differently. You battle differently than if Ben and Joel are your leaders. And that's another question. Something we've been discussing for a long time, I should say. Who is the leader? Is it time for someone to step up? We keep saying Ben and Joel, Ben and Joel, Ben and Joel, and that's the duo. So it makes a lot of sense. But at what point is it's this person's team? And did Daryl Morey answer that question for us when he was pretty much laid out to the 76ers fan base? When he was announced, that's the word I was looking for. Laid out to the fan base. What in the world is that? When he was announced, Joel Embiid continued to flow out of his mouth. He couldn't stop it. Now, there were some comments made about Ben Simmons as well, so I'm not trying to act as if he didn't say anything, but it was clearly 80% Joel Embiid continuing to just vomit out of his mouth. From excitement, I would imagine. Did that answer the question? I'm just thinking about late game situations, right? When you think about whose team it is. Joel Embiid, can the center be the guy? And maybe the spacing is the difference, because I think it's hard for a center down the stretch, fourth quarter, in today's era of basketball. I know you might spitball all these guys back in the 90s, early 2000s. I'm talking 2020, though. How hard is it to give the ball to the big man late fourth quarter with 5 minutes to go, where it's one of those back and forth games? How consistent can a big man be? And then you start double teaming the guy. And this could be the difference between last season, this season. If you have Danny Green, if you have Seth Curry, who can shoot the basketball, Tobias Harris, if he gets back to the type of ball that he was playing under Doc Rivers in LA, do you have the same access at double teaming Joel Embiid? Now, in theory, you would say, of course not, because you have shooters. But there's a lot of in theories. In theories, last year worked. And I know you might say, no, I questioned it from the beginning. Stop it. 90% of this fan base convinced themselves that bully ball. Hell, they started the season off undefeated, winning all these games, going to Portland, Furkan Korkmaz of all people, hitting a buzzer beater. You're like, this is great. Who's going to score on them? They don't need to score 120, because if they're holding guys to less than 100, you're good to go. So in theory, there was a way for last year to work. They just didn't stay true to that mentality. You saw them go in another direction other than the bully ball that you saw at one point. So in theory, yes, you can convince yourself that all this stuff will work. That's why I don't think that this is a finished product, but it's clearly heading in the right direction. And to bring back Dwight Howard to the mix, this is arguably the best backup big man that you have had when Joel Embiid goes to the bench. Now, regular season, it's a lot more in play. You might even have some load management situations. Although with the 72-game schedule, that does change a lot. That is 10 more regular season games off the books. But I'm sure you're still going to see them limit Embiid, unless that was more of Brett Brown and the heavy analytics that were involved under the Brett Brown regime. But let's look at what Doc Rivers did last year with the LA Clippers. Kawhi, Paul George, they got that type of treatment. So who's going to make those decisions? Is it going to be a combination of Elton, Doc, Daryl Morey? This is what we're going to do. Here's our game plan. Joel Embiid will play 60 of the 72. I'm just spitballing. I'm curious how they are going to operate Joel Embiid moving forward. When it comes to the postseason, Embiid's clearly going to log an insane amount of minutes, to the point where Dwight Howard's role is limited even more, yet because it's playoff basketball, it's that much more important. Seriously, Norvell Pell, Amir Johnson, that doesn't fly. Amir Johnson couldn't play. It doesn't work. You need to have somebody who can at least stand their ground for a couple minutes. Dwight Howard can do that. He has the ability to do it. It just depends on his mentality, if he's willing to buy in. But then I go back to, he knows this roster, right? I mean, I can pick it pros, I can pick it cons, I can see both sides. My initial reaction, and I tweeted this out at the time, you can follow me at Brodes81. We will be implementing giveaways, by the way, on Twitter as the Sixers season begins. And just a hell of a follow in general, to be honest with you. So make sure you do that. But my instant reaction was, I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm not going to tell you like, oh, yeah. But I'm not going to tell you it's horrendous. Let's see how it plays out. It has the possibility to be a snag if he can play his best role player version of himself and tie that together with the contract, no doubt. And plus, with that mid-level money, this still gives you the opportunity to go out and get a ball handler. I heard DJ Augustine was a name. Well, he came off the books. Before Dwight Howard came about, it was Nerlens Noel as a conversation possibly for the backup big man role. So, look, I'm not hooting and hollering, woohooing, because he does have a track record, and I think that's fair to bring up. At the same time, if he gives it to you, if he gives you the best version of a Dwight Howard role player who was bought in with the right mentality, who was willing to be that role-playing guy well, then you possibly have the best backup that you've ever had behind Joel. Now, to be fair, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily great because you've been that poor and that abysmal behind Embiid for so long. It's more saying it's been trash outside of Embiid. I mean, remember that playoff series against Toronto? When he goes to the bench, you start becoming minus 30, minus 35, minus 65, minus 95. You couldn't stand a chance. You had no shot in hell. It'll be interesting. This whole damn season will be interesting, and I'm so juiced up for ball. I need ball. I do. I need Sixers ball in my life. Doug Peterson, I want to smack him. Carson Wentz, I can't stand looking at him right now. Hate the face. Both of them hate the face. Sundays are miserable. I don't want to think about Eagles football any longer, although I continue to do it because there's nothing else to distract me. Sixers basketball is definitely sneaking up on us, and they're giving us moments here and there throughout the week, right? Like draft night was fun, the trades, thank the Lord, getting rid of Josh Richardson, getting rid of Al Horford, that was fun. It got us away from the miserable performances by the Eagles. Keep it coming. I need it. I love just hearing Daryl Morey speak. I do. Look, they got rid of Zhaire Smith, and I know, like, oh, Zhaire Smith, what a waste, people, I know that people hate Brett Brown. Brett Brown's not a GM. And at that time, he was put in a GM spot. That is a failure from an organizational standpoint. That's like saying, hey, Brodes, be the GM, and then I mess up. Is it really my fault for messing up when I'm not a general manager? Brett Brown's the head coach. There's no reason for the head coach to be all of these pieces. He's giving updates on the medical team. He's drafting the players. He's being the coach. He's coming up with the strategy. That's not how it works. That's not what you do. And everyone pretends like that first-round pick wasn't a big deal. Mikal Bridges and Zhaire Smith, it wasn't the trade. You got a first-round pick as well, which is a huge part to just leave out. And yes, ultimately, that led into Tobias Harris, which right now looks to be a miserable contract, and that flopped. But when you look at that trade individually, just specifically that trade, to fail to mention what that first-round pick gave back to you, you're missing out on the biggest part of the trade. I don't think that trade was that horrendous. I wanted Mikal Bridges. It came down to what did they do with that first-round pick. Now, hindsight, yes, Tobias Harris and that contract is bad. At the time, though, I feel people are overblowing it. Mikal Bridges is a nice 3-and-D guy. He's not changing your franchise. He's a nice player. He's a nice player who will have a role in this league. You can find 3-and-D guys in the NBA. It's not making or breaking you. This isn't franchise changing to the point where I'm hearing people freak out when this Zhaire trade happened. I mean, relax. So anyway, they make the trade, and I just see Daryl Morey tweeting. Whenever he acquires someone, he's tweeting a highlight package. I love this guy's energy. I love this guy's voice. And look, I don't care what your personality is like if you do a good job. You don't need to relate to the fan base. You don't have to. You could be a geek. You could be a nerd. You could be a cool guy. You could be an ass. I don't care. As long as you succeed as a president of basketball ops or as a general manager or as a head coach, it doesn't matter. Bill Belichick, he's a douche. The guy wins. Doesn't matter. You got good people involved. Brett Brown, good person. Wasn't succeeding? All right, it's time to go. Like, I don't care about your personality as long as you do a good job. But it's always nice to have a relatable one. If I could choose, it's clearly relatable over a Bill Belichick or someone who you can't really stand. So, yes, I would prefer someone who is cool. Daryl Morey seems to be a cool dude who's just relating. It always helps when you relate. This guy walked into the door. He's going back and forth with Spike Eskin during the initial press conference where he was announced. He's going back with people on Twitter. I mean, the guy just gets it. The guy's just a good dude. And it's always easier to have that than other personalities. But once again, if you do have a different personality, that's fine. As long as you are excelling at what you do, that's what matters here, you know? That's what matters here. All right, so before we continue, I need to tell you about my friends at DraftKings. DraftKings has brought their expertise to legal sports betting. It's a legitimate sports book based right here in the U.S., so you can rest assured that your funds are totally secure. DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is safe, secure, and reliable. Deposit and withdraw at your convenience. Listen to this deal. All new users have a chance to earn a sign-up bonus up to $1,000 when signing up using code BRODES, BRODES. That is tremendous. It's so outrageous, actually. So head to the app now. Check out all that they have to offer, including player props, live betting, so much more. If sportsbooks are not yet available in your state, don't forget the DraftKings Fantasy app, which offers millions of dollars in total prizes every single week. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We do have some anytime hotline calls to get to when it comes to this 76ers team, and I'm not going to lie to you. I am so overwhelmed with joy that the anytime hotline is kicking off to this degree. It's nonstop. It's literally nonstop, and there's nothing better. And I find this so enjoyable. Really, it's one of my favorite parts of doing this podcast now. And look, I've loved doing this for years. I'm over 3 years in. It's been one of the best things that's ever happened in my life. But the way that you are willing to call in on any of these topics so I can react, and I feel I say this all the time, but it's because it comes from the damn heart. I don't know if I can express it enough, and I feel I don't express it enough, how much I love all you guys for the support, and I love this anytime hotline. It brings another element that I can't explain it enough how much it means to me. So the phone number is 856-442-9805. It's 24/7. You can always call in, leave your thoughts. We have a ton of reactions to where the Sixers are right now in terms of, Al Horford and the trade that Daryl Morey pulled off, the draft. So it's a combination of a bunch of things, just 76ers related. Let's kick it off.
Get Horford up on out of here. Take his sisters with him. I hope they enjoy Oklahoma. But no, in all reality, it's not really his fault. I don't know what they were thinking when they brought that man in here. And he got a lot of abuse, but honestly, there were times he showed no effort. And people throwing gasoline on the flames is just a terrible idea. I'm glad we moved on for him. People are really happy about it. I'm kind of like, all right. I'm happy we moved on from him. I don't know if we got a great deal. Maybe that's just me. Be curious to see what your opinion is, Brodes.
Well, here's the thing. People are worried about the return right now. Danny Green, Ferguson. That's step one. That's the first part of this. This is like a 3-step process. That's why I said you can't fix all these issues in one offseason. But what it did do, while you did bring back Danny Green in that contract, you brought back Ferguson in that contract, that's an expiring deal, both of them. So they're off the books after this season. So what you did was, yes, you got a shooter back. You got an intriguing player in Ferguson back. You got a veteran player, too, not just a shooter in Danny Green who can bring it defensively, too. He's definitely getting older in his career, but he's not some bum defensively. Let's look at the contract coming off the books down the road. This was a multi-year deal where you were paying Al Horford a tremendous amount of money. That was a big cap hit on the books. Now you have the ability to have cap space and work with some players in the future that now when they make a signing next season or they make a trade and they bring in new guys in the future down the road in the next 2 seasons, that's the second and third part to this trade. So it's more than just a what you got in return. It's about the future and how it's set up. Daryl Morey's thinking ahead. And right now it even benefited this team because they needed to get rid of Al Horford with the spacing issue. You gain spacing. That's huge. And he even mentioned it himself, you can't do the Josh Richardson deal without the Al Horford deal. This is so many moving pieces. It really is. And it's only step one. So, yes, it's important to focus on what you got in return, but wait until you see the future moves. Then you go, hold on a second. The reason you could have even done that is because of moving Al Horford, is because of making that trade. So that's where I think you got to take a deep breath, realize that this is a better move for the team long-term and short-term. So this is a no-brainer. And I'm with you with the whole way that he played here. It was on him. It was on him. The effort, the lack thereof, was very noticeable. He didn't care. He wasn't willing. He didn't compete hard. There was a moment where he realized this ain't it. And when he realized this ain't it, his ass was out of here. Not physically, I'm talking mentally. The stupid smack of the hand every time he missed a layup. He missed constant layups. Now, was he utilized properly? I thought that he probably could have worked better in more pick and pop plays. He always excelled with the pick and pop in Boston, where you would get him operating in that, not the free throw line, a little off there, the elbow, mid-range, two-pointer, that area. He didn't get a lot of that. He took a lot of threes, a lot in the corner. I don't know if you use him properly, but the problem was it didn't work because of Embiid. He never played next to an Embiid. It's a tough fit to begin with. I don't think coaches are just coming in here saying, oh, I got the perfect fix, and it's just going to magically work. I thought it was a struggle regardless, even if you did use him more in pick and pop play. That does affect the spacing in general and how you use other players as well. So it's not as simple as just do this and you would have excelled with that rotation that you had. There's a lot that snowballs and domino effect that occurs because of doing that pick and pop play. But I didn't love Al Horford from his mentality here as a professional, as a leader in a lot of locker rooms who is clearly respected in this league. He didn't give you that here. And that's on him. That's a controllable. There's a difference between an uncontrollable and a controllable. That was a controllable, and that irritates me, without a doubt.
Hey, what's going on? I like the Al Horford trade for Danny Green. Listen, he was an Asian player whose fit clearly wasn't made for Philly. You owed him a lot of money. You got Danny Green back. I think that's a good return. You weren't going to get anything crazy back. But with that being said, I feel like that might be a precursor for some other Morey moves. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat tonight, and hopefully there's going to be some more moves made.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So that was obviously done before the draft. That call was left, I should say, before the draft, but after that Al Horford trade, yes, more moves to come. But, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You had to get that money off of the books. You had to move it around. You had to. You had to find a way, or you were screwed for a long period of time. So Daryl Morey, hell of a job. And even this Maxey pick, man, this Maxey pick, the more and more I think about this kid, I am stoked. I'm telling you, he's going to be what you expected out of Fultz. He's going to be that guy. It's going to happen. You end up getting a Daryl Morey, good things happen. And whether this had anything to do with Daryl Morey or not, you got him falling at 21. And I mentioned this before, but I think because there was no NCAA tournament, the Sixers benefited from that. Because not Daryl Morey, I was going to say Daryl Morey would have went out there for Kentucky and balled, and someone else would have got him earlier. I would love to see Daryl Morey with some shoes on taking jump shots. I can imagine he's got a wet J. I would imagine that he knocks it down at a 40% clip down at LA Fitness or at the local park. Not a charge guy. I don't see him being a defense guy. More of no defense, corner three, splash, celebration, dagger to the head type guy. But Maxey, him not playing in that tournament, it could have been the difference in where he got drafted. I think this kid's going to be legit as hell. Some are afraid because of Clutch Sports. I like the fact that he's a part of Clutch Sports. I want him associated with Ben Simmons, LeBron James. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want the guy to be associated with one of the best in the game, working out with one of the best in the game? There's no negatives at all when it comes to that. When it comes to that side of it, a guy who is surrounded by players who succeed in this league with tremendous talent in this league, sure, you can look at it from, hey, it might be harder to work him or around contract stuff and things like that down the road. Like, it's not all positives, but from a player development standpoint, being with those individuals, sign me up any day of the week. Pretty intriguing if you ask me.
Wow, Brodes, out of all people, I was not expecting to get Danny Green for Al Horford to a first rounder and a second rounder. I think that might be a little bit much for Danny Green. I'm not sure what Danny Green's identity is going to be, how well he'll play, but I'm kind of happy to get Al Horford off our hands. That was a huge contract.
Yeah, that's it right there. I know a lot are looking at what you got in return, and I just feel you need to understand the situation. This contract was garbage. You don't have Al Horford on that type of contract. I'm not saying you are specifically. I'm just saying in general, speaking to the people that are questioning what you got in return. I don't know what you could have possibly thought you were going to get. I don't know what you thought would have been reasonable. This is realistically reasonable, if not good. I mean, this is possibly a good return for that contract with Al Horford. So I don't know how you could look at it negatively because of what Danny Green is. Now, Danny Green is on the back end. His best basketball was earlier in his career. But once again, that goes to how much money is on Al Horford's contract. What is his role going to be here? He's going to be a 3-and-D guy. He's going to be a veteran leader in the locker room. And that's it. You know? I do question if he's going to start. That's where I'm having trouble right now. And I think as you get this team together, training camp starts, you'll get more of a vision on possibly what can go down. I think it might change based off of the matchups each night. I don't know if they're going to have something consistent or, hey, this team's bigger, this team's smaller, we'll do this, we'll do that. We'll see. But with Ben playing, with Joel and Tobias as your 3 starters, what's the other 2 going to be? Would it be Maxey, but not to the same extent? Like, hey, he can start, but he won't give you starter minutes. Would it be Danny Green? Would it be Seth Curry? What are they going to do? That, I think, is very interesting. You do have the mid-level money as well, but that would probably be more of your role player than someone you're going to find who's going to be in your starting rotation, of course. But I'm just very interested to see how that happens. But how I see Danny Green in his role, veteran in the locker room, will be big when it comes to, hey, dude, I won 3 championships. This is how championship teams operate from a work ethic standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. I think it's important that he's won 3 times in 3 different organizations with 3 different leaderships, or 3 different leaders in the role. San Antonio, Toronto, LA. You've seen it all, and you've seen it in various different ways. How can I use that to help out this young core who will lead teams down the road? Will that end in an NBA title? I don't know. But if I'm Danny Green, I'm thinking, how can I use all that information and data to help Ben and Joel to put them in a better position to succeed and to be leaders in their NBA careers? He might not give you 40%. He might be 37. He might be 36. I know career-wise he's in that 40 area. It's been going the other way. He might not be 40. But based off of what you got last year, I mean, come on now. It can't be much worse.
You know, Brodes, I thought this was just going to be a normal night. I was just chilling. And what do I see pop up on my phone? Woj tweets. I'm like, all right. Al Horford traded for Danny Green and Ferguson. The thing that blows my mind about this is we only had to give up 1 first-round pick in 2025. That Daryl Morey working up just some magic. If we had to give up Al, I thought we had to give up at least 2-3 first-round picks for that terrible contract, but I'll take it.
That would be insane. You know, imagine, like, that's something. I know everyone says late first rounders don't mean anything. You just got Maxey. You ended up getting Matisse Thybulle the year before, and you got Landry Shaman. 3 pieces who, just like Mikal Bridges, they're replaceable. You can find guys like that. It's not like your franchise is over if you don't have some of those role-playing players. You can find them throughout the league. But they still are valued as well. They're not just thrown in the trash as nobody. So they're somewhere in between, right? I'd rather stick with Al Horford than get rid of 3 of those. Like, imagine what a combination of the 3 can do. Let's say you have Shamet, Matisse, and Maxey to grow with your franchise. Would you rather have Al Horford and those 3 pieces, or no Al Horford without those three pieces. It's very interesting. I can see the argument for both sides. If you told me it took 3 first-rounders, though, to get rid of Al Horford, I know you were just speaking and saying that, like, oh, I thought it was going to take this. And I thought a lot of people would imagine it would take more than a 25 first-round pick that's top 6 protected. Like, I thought it would be a bigger package, no doubt about it. I'm with you. And I know you're just saying 2, 3 first-rounders. 2, I think it's more willing to have the conversation. 3, I would lean towards keeping Al Horford over 3. It's very interesting. I'm curious your thoughts on this. So comment down below if you would do that. I'm very interested. If you're listening to this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, because we're on all the major podcasting platforms, you can use the review system as a comment section as well. So I do look at those. Very interesting to see, the comments throughout the show. So interesting, without a doubt. I do need to let you know about my friends at Manscaped. Autumn is in the air, and Manscaped is here to ensure that you don't carve your pumpkins when you're grooming. And by pumpkins, we actually mean your boys downstairs. In fact, Manscaped is on a mission to change the way you approach caring for your balls. And great news, they released their products in UK, Canada, and Australia. The Lawnmower 3.0, it is outrageous. They have a replaceable ceramic blade with advanced skin-safe technology. No more grooming accidents, okay? No more in the shower. You start bleeding. You don't want none of that, all right? Their new Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer uses the same skin-safe technology. They have the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. Everybody knows that pumpkin spice lattes and ball deodorant goes hand in hand. Body wash, ball wipes, you name it. Cologne. The formulations are all vegan, cruelty-free, dye-free, sulfate-free. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. Also, real quick, I need to let you know about my friends at Orbit Energy and Power. With over 20 years of experience in the industry, Orbit is home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. They offer flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. They provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. Check out their information. It's all down below. I need this team. And it's funny because this team last year, just as frustrating as the Eagles are now, and they want to make you blow your brains out at times. It's not like this organization has been all dandelions and roses, right? It's been miserable. That's how bad the Eagles have been, though, and look, you get someone like Daryl Morey, you get Doc Rivers, you get a new assistant coaching staff that seems to be legit as hell. Yes, you're naturally going to shift from being pessimistic to optimistic, and I'm acknowledging that. So that's why we feel the way that we do. But it's just funny that think about where we were at the end of last season. Is that the same as we feel now about this Eagles team? Does this Eagles team frustrate us more than the Sixers did last year? The difference is 16-game season compared to an 82-game season. At some point, it's a different feel because there's so many more games. You clock out at one point. You're like, okay, this team stinks. I'm not as bought in. There's Wednesday night games, Thursday night games, Monday night games. It's not the same as Sunday football. That's the one day for all the games. Like, it's just a completely different vibe. Both are extremely frustrating. Hopefully this season, though, that shifts for the Sixers. And you can see a path and you can see an identity. Right now, the Eagles have no identity. With the Sixers, it seems like there's an identity in place. Will that flow out into the court? Spacing, Seth Curry, 45% from 3. We'll see. And also, we're talking about all these pieces, and I think this is a good way to end things, and maybe it will spark a conversation for a future podcast. We rarely touch on Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid taking that next step, and that's the most important thing. While, yes, these moves are very valuable, you're getting spacing, you're getting Danny Green, you're getting Seth Curry, you're moving on from Horford, you're getting rid of Josh Richardson, you're making a roster that makes sense from an NBA standpoint where these player skill sets mesh more, and it seems like the X's and O's and the strategy and the scheme will benefit these players based off of naturally having a roster that, hey, this guy's good at three-point shooting, this guy's a good passer, this guy's a good center. It makes sense. That's huge. What's insanely bigger is Ben Simmons, is Joel Embiid. And will Ben Simmons naturally take that next step based off of his ability to pass now intensifies and the window of opportunity grows? Will Joel Embiid have more space to work with just because of how guys can camp out at the three-point line, that just because the roster is better, it's already going to elevate them? Very interesting. I'll leave you with those thoughts. And like I said, maybe we can grow with that conversation for another pod. I do want to mention this before I let you go. I have a special guest in the works for next week. I don't want to spoil anything, but he might be coming in for a landing. He might be turning garbage into gold. That's all I need to say. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.